Welcome back to the New Level Podcast, everyone. My name is Phil, and I'm your host on the show. On today's episode, we speak with Stilian Nikolow, Director of Strategic Growth at Gestisoft. Gestisoft is a Microsoft Gold partner based in Montreal, specializing in deploying Microsoft CRM and ERP solutions. As a leader in the company, Stilian enables organizations to transform digitally by using Microsoft technology. He is currently also the president of St. Lawrence Toastmasters, Canada's oldest public speaking club, east of Winnipeg. He won the AMBAQ Award in November of 2020, an award recognizing the accomplishments of 11 MBAs with a positive impact in Quebec during COVID-19. Today, we talk about how the pandemic accelerated digital transformation for manufacturing and distribution companies in Canada and what technologies are driving this transformation. We also discussed how management teams of companies should approach exploring new solutions and what they should look for when selecting a technology provider. We talk about the 5 benefits companies can expect when adopting these new technologies, and finally, how important it is to involve your staff to ensure a successful digital transformation journey. So lots to learn on today's episode, guys. Without further delay, I bring you Stilian Nikolow from Gestisoft.
You are listening to the New Level Podcast, where humans talk about automation. We bring you industry experts and share new ideas that help elevate your business. Join your hosts, Philip Agib and Teresa Foreman, on the journey of automation technology.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Level Podcast, and welcome, Stilian. Been a long time. We've been wanting to have you on to the show. Thanks for taking the time to be here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Philip and Teresa.
Always joined by my awesome co-host, Teresa. Thanks again for being here as well. So let's kick things off with our first question, Stilian. So obviously you come with a lot of experience in the technology space. Talk to us how you feel the pandemic accelerated digital transformation, specifically in the manufacturing and distribution industry in Canada.
Yeah, so basically, before we get there, I'd like to start a little bit earlier, right? Because even before the pandemic, we've experienced changes to how manufacturing firms and distribution firms approached us, okay? So a lot of these firms, they used to deal with a lot of manual work, and then sometimes, they had like some Excel spreadsheets or some different tools that helped them to actually get more productive. And so if you look on a global scale, Canada has been behind in terms of investments into technology for many, many years. Okay, I think it started back in the 2000s, where the split between the United States and Canada started to happen, where the US started to invest a whole lot of money into technology, equipment, and different things that made them more productive. And Canada just kept investing the same amount. They increased their investment. However, it wasn't as high, or the proportion stayed the same, right? Whereas the US started to invest much, much more. And so that kind of explains the difference in the productivity and output of some of these companies. And so when that happened, and the last report that I reference very often, looks at Canada, Canada was somewhere like place 17 or very, very far behind on a global scale. And that was all before the pandemic. And so the pandemic hit early 2020, and that's where, excuse my French, shit the fan in a way, right? Because everybody was forced to go digital. People didn't have a choice. You had presidents and upper management suddenly have to deal with keeping the lights on. So how do you keep the lights on, monitor your people, restructure everything so people can actually be functional at home, right? You had people in the car. You had people work, in their home office. You had people come in the office on a very sporadic manner because some of their invoices were there, POs were there. So people were all over. Information was in old legacy systems. Other information was on, note papers or not on the cloud, et cetera. We're going to talk about that aspect later on, but that actually put a big burden on companies. And so when it hit, people were overwhelmed. That's also where, this uncertainty forced people to actually shut down. That's where nobody didn't do anything at first. And even ourselves, I mean, we are in tech and we're used to work remotely, but we didn't have the opportunity to, immediately continue on everything that we were doing, because it was, first of all, okay, let's pause for a second and see what's going to happen, right? And so once that was over, the initial 3 months, that's where we saw it actually pick up quite quickly, and it was so fast and rapid that would like never seen before. So people, the companies, they needed to act. They were forced to go digital, and so some of the drivers for that were, being able to monitor your people, being able to speak to your people that are everywhere, providing them with the tools, providing them with motivation, actually being able to, supervise teams, and then serving your customers, being able to serve, incoming calls and requests that you had to do without tools suddenly at home. Some people don't even have an office. I remember in the first couple of days in the pandemic where we used Microsoft Teams already, some people, they actually worked in their bedroom all day. They slept in their bedroom, and some of them, they live in the studio. So they ate in their bedroom as well. So you spent 24 hours in your bedroom and you can't go out. So that has a psychological impact on your employees as well. So all in all, right, to come back to your questions, because I'm kind of like touching upon a lot of different things here, but ever since the pandemic hit, people realized that we have to do something and we have to transform, or else we can't operate. We can't keep the lights on, right? So that's kind of what the biggest driver was for that shift. And so investments started to follow, grants started to follow. However, despite all of that, I don't think we're nearly as close to some of the other countries as we should be in Canada.
Yeah, makes sense, Stilian. It's sad that it had to come to this point where like people are, I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be a business owner, like I don't know, think of a produce manufacturer, right? Like they're growing crops and they're trying to harvest those crops the old-fashioned way, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, like we need to try to keep the lights on and all of this stuff is going on. I cannot even imagine having to be, faced with a decision, or how important those decisions were to decide, okay, do we invest, or do we just kind of wait, or do we abandon, right? Like it was such a difficult time for those people. But, I guess, those that, evolve and continue to persevere, those are the ones that make it out.
And just to touch on that as well, right? So people saw it coming, but it didn't take it seriously at first, right? When we speak about COVID. And so when COVID hit, that's kind of where we refer to the time where the lockdown started. COVID was there prior to that, right? But we say COVID hit where the lockdowns happened and people couldn't go to work anymore, or stores started to close. And so that's kind of where, nothing happened at first and people were overwhelmed. However, we push Microsoft, right? So we believe in Microsoft technology, and there's studies from different organizations, but looking at Microsoft alone, in the first 2 months of the pandemic, they have noted transformations worth 2 years. And so earlier this year, when I started to look at some of the stats, BDO, McKinsey, Forbes, Deloitte, they saw in 2020 transformations happen worth of 5 to 7 years in the entire year of 2020. So all that acceleration is actually driven by the fact, okay, how do we reinvent ourselves? The first wave calmed down towards summer, the second wave started. So then That's where people noticed, okay, we're not going back to normal anytime soon. And then it went down again, and then a third started before vaccination kicked in, right? And all the campaigning started there. But I personally don't think the progress that was actually earned or made during that time will go back, right? Because how many years have we talked, especially in the educational sector, universities, for example, they've been wanting to go digital for years and offer online classes. And it didn't work. There were, lobbies and all that kind of stuff. So nothing worked. But when they were forced to go digital, it started to, they were actually able to do so. And so all that progress that we've made, I don't think is going to go back, but I think it's going to return to a kind of hybrid, situation.
Stilian, you touch on something that Phil and I talk about often ourselves, as well as other guests we have on the show. But we've been hearing about digital transformation for over a decade now, right? And it's such a buzzword, and everybody talks about it. But really, the level of transformation that we've seen in the last 12 to 15 months is really unprecedented, as you said. And all the major research houses that you quoted, the McKinseys and the like, are seeing that acceleration. Unprecedented acceleration. So to your point earlier around how business owners, business leaders needed to pivot and look at how they could keep the lights on, keep the business continuity, right, alive and well, really came down to their technology stack, right? And what did they have, in their infrastructure to facilitate this new remote world, right? So what would you say, from what you've seen, are the technologies driving this transformation?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a very good question, and there's many answers to that. And we've seen many technologies evolve even prior to the pandemic, right? So look at artificial intelligence, look at blockchain, all that stuff that started prior. However, it became so much more meaningful through the pandemic as well, right? So the reality in Canada, though, is that Canada is behind, and they still rely on many siloed solutions that don't speak with each other, right? So look at, for example, retailers and their EDI solutions that they could offer to some of the manufacturers. Look at internal companies that have disconnected accounting systems from their manufactured inventory systems, for example, right? So one of the areas that I've seen, right, was the rise of e-commerce. Because stores closed down, people had to actually order online to get their stuff. And so when local fabricators were faced with, wow, I'm suddenly getting so many orders online, but I don't have an e-commerce platform. Some of them that didn't even have a website, right? So how do they miss out if they don't move quickly? So the pandemic accelerated the move towards e-commerce. Then you had integrated solutions that are cloud-based, because if they're legacy on-premise solutions, so it's very hard to make them actually talk. It's too long. The work involved in making siloed systems that are on-premise, where no APIs exist, talk, is going to be very tedious and long. So they couldn't rely on that. So cloud was the answer to actually making solutions speak quicker. I'll give you an example. There's Shopify offering a very good e-commerce platform. But if you get all your orders in and you just rely on your e-commerce platform without integrated solutions in your business for inventory accounting, you may get orders, but you actually may lose orders as well. So I give you an example. One of our clients, when they came first to us, said, listen, I have so many orders, I can't fulfill them. On top of that, I'm actually losing orders. I get these orders, I can't keep track of them. I'm not sure if I already delivered or not. So customers are following up with us. So they lack that 360-degree view of their operations, right? And so integrated systems are extremely important to actually keep track of incoming orders, treating them, fill the execution, especially manufacturing, distribution. And so once you have that, another driving factor that is actually very attractive these days, and I don't like to use it because it's like a buzzword almost, right? And it's been very long time that we moved away from the buzzword big data in a way, but it's still, data is still at its core in a way when it comes to using machine learning, right? Machine learning or AI applications, right? And so some of the solution providers like Microsoft or others use in their toolkit already AI-based or machine learning-based features that help you predict late payments, for example, help you predict inventory levels, help you predict what to purchase, etc. So forecasting. So there's many different things. On the sales side, you can predict if a customer is going to churn. So churn rates can be predicted. So all of these fancy AI kind of applications, machine learning applications come in that drive transformation, but companies don't realize that it's going to take a long time till they actually get there, because there's actually a process to become that company that is able to make use and benefit from all these technologies. And where we are today, and the pandemic helped to actually get there, we're still at the stage where people rely on legacy systems, disconnected systems, Excel spreadsheets, manual labor, where a lot of errors may happen. So to give you a quick rundown on that, so you start with generating data and then capturing the data. If you don't capture data and store the data and unify the data, you can't actually use automation or AI, because how do you want to automate something if everything is spread out? So you have to really unify it first. And that's where we're at right now in Canada, right? So helping customers and clients to get a good understanding of where their data is at, helping them to capture it, unify it, and then draw conclusions from the data they have already, and only then, right, down the road, use some of the advanced features.
Let's take a quick break and hear from today's sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Vantry Systems. Vantry is a B2B integration provider based in Montreal, specializing in all your ERP integration needs while delivering unparalleled service, advanced technologies, and expert advice time after time with a humanistic approach. Vantry just released a EDI and API automation solution for Microsoft Business Central and Microsoft Finance and Operations. If you're looking for deeper integration and you're tired of getting the runaround from your existing provider, please visit www.vantry.com for more information. Now, back to the show.
Stilian, you raised, I agree with you. Big data is just used used so frequently, it starts to lose its meaning. But when you're, when you're a manufacturer, distributor, and you are sort of dipping your toe into the level of digital transformation that has to happen in this new environment, it can be really overwhelming, right? Not only to the business owner, but even to the IT teams. There's so many vendors, so many solutions, everybody claiming to be the best. It can be really, really overwhelming. So when you're working with your clients, how do you counsel the management teams within these Canadian manufacturers and distributors to approach looking at technology providers to select the best solution and the best technology partner to create this new infrastructure? And how do you counsel them to go through that?
Yeah, and definitely, it's a great question. And what we tell our clients, and it's not just when we have one-on-one meetings with our clients, but it's also at roundtables or peer-to-peer groups and all that kind of stuff where we bring things up like that, because we represent a specific solution provider, which I mentioned prior, but there's other solutions that are great as well, right? So a lot of times it's a transformation, and a transformation doesn't happen overnight. Right? It had to happen overnight in a way throughout the pandemic, where accelerations actually, it pushed companies there. But it starts at the realization that there has to be a change. So companies, so there must be something that tells the owner or the president of the company, top management, okay, so the way we are actually acting right now is not sufficient anymore. We have to change. And so a lot of times there's service providers, which are not us, but there's other providers that would do some of the advisory work, right? Actually helping customers realize that the way you've been operating is no longer sustainable. So you have to change. And so once that's done and the customers realize the need, then you would actually go down and make a more specific assessment. And there's a lot of governmental programs, right? So there's in Quebec here, there's Audit 4.0, Audit 4.0, and the rest of Canada. There's different programs that help companies with government money to actually do some of these assessments with specific suppliers that specialize. They're usually unbiased. They look at your operations. They see different areas that may benefit from technology. So they look at bottlenecks. They look at efficiencies that can happen. They look at how you manage your people. They look at all different areas of your business. And they would say, okay, listen, this is how you can actually use technology to make it better, more efficient, which will then either increase your top line, your sales, or your bottom line, right, and your profitability. And so once that's done, and they get that awareness and the assessment where they actually put light on different areas of their business that may benefit from technology, then what? Right? Then they have to select. And that's where the challenge starts, because there's countless providers out there and everybody claims to be the best. And you have, third-party providers like Gartner, Forrester, and all these research firms that propose certain technologies, and they're a good guidance. They shouldn't be looked at as absolute truth, in my opinion. However, they still give you a very good idea of what technologies are out there. Right? What technologies are out there, and then it's really about determining the right fit. So companies may want to select a couple of different solutions, and there's different levels as well, right? So for example, in the ERP sector, there's tier 1 ERP solutions, right? SAP, Finance Operations by Microsoft, there's many different ones. However, companies that are in the SMB market wouldn't necessarily focus on these ones, right? So there's that awareness that needs to happen. Okay, there's different layers of technologies. And then what fits best to specific needs of this company? Because again, like using an approach that's very siloed and, I'm picking an inventory system. I'm going to pick a CRM. I'm going to pick a accounting system, and nothing is integrated. You're going to just reproduce what you had earlier on premise where nothing is talking to each other, right? So if data is important to a company, the company must look at integrated solutions that actually allow that unification of data in order to eventually benefit from these advanced tools as well, right? And so when you speak about partner selection, because it's very rare that companies can actually make that decision on their own. Either they have large IT teams, even if they have like 2-3 people in IT, they may, get a good idea of what's out there, but it's very hard to actually look at what the company really needs, right? Because a lot of times the company looks at their current tool set in order to determine future requirements. And that's a bad indicator, because you can't judge what your future needs are based on your past tool set. It's impossible, because you're gonna skew your view. And so when you talk to outside partners, they actually give you that outside perspective, because they talk to many different customers, they do many different projects, and even if you have people on your team who have done 5 or 6 major implementations in technology, be it EDI, be it e-commerce, be it ERP, CRM projects, even if they have done 5 or 6, which is a lot for somebody that's working at a manufacturer, they don't have the visibility of a partner that's doing 50, 60, 70 projects a year. And so that's where it becomes important to select your right partner, because the partner selection is more important, in my opinion, than the platform selection, right? So you have your major platforms once you determine your fit. However, it's more important to select a partner who really understands your business and is able to right-size the project for you, right? So it's not just about giving you a solution and designing a project, but right-sizing the project based on your resources, your timeline, and your capabilities, and where you're at in your maturity level as well.
Right. Couldn't agree more. Like partner, I think, and I've seen so many companies really just focus on the, what's the most cost-effective solution, what's the most, and looking at metrics that don't make the most sense. I don't think that partnership that you talk about, the people you're at the table with, I think that's often underestimated and undervalued in terms of how important that is in that digital transformation. Like if you were building a house, you could have, all the tools and all the great materials, but if you don't have a great contractor, you know what I mean? Your house isn't going to be great or won't be tailored to your needs. So I couldn't agree more.
Actually, it's a very important point, and that's actually one of our differentiators at Gestisoft, because companies, customers, they approach us and they ask us, okay, can you give me a table that compares this and that solution, right? Feature by feature basis, and based on the price, they would determine if it's the right fit, but it doesn't work that way. So what needs to happen is basically, understanding the core business need. And where that comes from is basically people see something or hear something or want to have AI suddenly, right? But they're not there yet with their company. So they fail sometimes to determine where they're at in what stage they're at in their transformation, right? And their maturity level. So when we speak to customers, what we do is we take a great concern of their capabilities, their digital capabilities, and also the time they can actually put towards the project, because you can't expect a partner to complete the project for you and then help you transform, and once they leave, you're on your own and then you don't know anything about it. So there must be a transfer of knowledge and a transfer of ownership before the partner actually leaves. Only then you can actually sustain the new state, right? Because you have a current state, a future state, you will be at your future state, and you can only sustain that if you actually have the ownership and the knowledge to do so. And only that can actually help you to evolve, because once the implementation is done, the post-implementation is done, then you're actually going to evolve and not just stay there and then just fall back at some point, right? So your interest is actually keep up with the industry.
Yeah, I find that a lot of companies make that mistake. They look at things so objectively, and they're setting themselves up for some some deceit, because it's like, you're talking about, when you're talking about a partnership, it's essentially a marriage. Like, it's so important that when you're expressing some of the challenges that you're facing, and your goals, the goals that you want to accomplish, that the partner on the other side understands that. But ultimately, you need to feel comfortable with that partner to walk you through the entire process. And like you said, Stilian, at the end, not just kind of let go of the baton and say, all right, it's all on you now. I think there's a certain awareness that needs to come from the partner to identify, like you said, the capabilities, the digital capabilities of the company. But a certain awareness also from the company, from the ownership team, the C-level executive team, to say, hey guys, like, how much time do we actually have to dedicate to this digital transformation? And if for the next 6 months it's only X number of hours, that's okay. You just need to kind of understand what that means in your digital transformation, and then maybe set yourself a goal for the following 6 months. I find companies are so eager to get there, but they're missing. They might be missing some of the important elements to make the entire project successful. Right, not the first year of implementation, but the lifetime implementation. But here, let's move on to something a bit more positive, and I'm sure there are tons of benefits that these companies can see and expect when adopting these new technologies. Can you talk to us about maybe like the top 5, Stilian?
Definitely. And so it's an easy one, actually, because to me it becomes so obvious now that look at mobile, for example, right? So mobile wouldn't be possible without the cloud, and so right now you have people everywhere, and so connectivity is one of the major benefits that no matter where you are, you have access to information, and not just to emails and not just to phone numbers, but really to invoices, POs, the status of where your production is at in sales. What your pipeline looks like. In customer service, how many open tickets you have, etc. You have access to information no matter where you are, and so that actually helps you to be proactive about certain things and much quicker as well. So speed is definitely something that companies have used as a motivator to transform. Just being quicker than the competition, being able to serve faster. And some of the benefits of AI. Look at for example, chatbots or something like that, where Bell or Videotron, or it doesn't matter what company, they're actually able to handle some of the questions you have. And I'm not sure if they are actually using some of the chatbots, but they are using chat on their website or portal. But you're able to actually do things and help clients quicker by using some of this technology, giving them a portal where they can actually self-serve or stuff like that. So speed is definitely a great factor. The other factor that I like to mention is the operational excellence. So it's not just about doing things faster, but actually increasing profitability as well. So by using technology, you're able to reduce some of the errors that you do, right? So increasing your quality, being able to do it right the first time, right? Instead of having to redo it. So you're actually doing it one time, it's the right, it's done right. And then your profitability goes up because you don't have to, spend too much time, looking for information. So each activity that you do is actually meaningful. And then you'll be able to, operate more efficiently. Then you have another benefit that's building deeper customer relationships. So imagine, how annoying that would be if you get, from, I don't know, an insurance broker or something, calling you up for the same insurance policy 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And you tell them each time that, hey, your colleague already called me. So why are you calling me, right? So that's kind of like, it doesn't build a good impression. And so you want to have a good system where you can actually track every customer activity. And so if that's done, each interaction with your client is going to be meaningful. And you can note things down like when their birthday is, I know that's no longer that relevant because LinkedIn pops up like with birthday and or other systems like, Facebook or whatever. But just like being able to be intentional about how you interact with clients, that's huge, right? Because in manufacturing, you need to actually look at some of the core challenges that they live. Eroding margins, right? By offshore competition that comes into Canada from Asia, Southeast Asia, Mexico, etc., from other countries, coming in with lower priced products, and then manufacturing firms have to keep up with that because, hey, how do I actually lower my price to stay competitive, or else they're gonna shop elsewhere? So that's where they need to get more operational, right? So service and relationships become the core right? The core when you interact with your customers, because that's what's left when you interact with them. So you want to make sure that that's meaningful, and technology can actually help you to keep that meaningful. And lastly, you can actually use data to make quicker decisions, right? So right now, decision making is so important because through COVID we've seen it, right? So when it hit you, okay, do we stay open? Do we not stay open? How many people do we let in the office? Do we do home office? Do we send people back to work remotely? Do I actually shut down some plants or some production lines? What do I do, right? So there's so many questions, and you can't take informed decisions if you don't have the right information, right? And data provides you with information that you can base yourself on, that ideally should give you some insights, right? So if you have a data dump and you have so much data, but you can't make sense of it, it isn't going to help you out. That's where we get back to unifying the data so it actually provides you some insights so you can take decisions. So actionable insights is something that's really important, and that's what technology offers you as well.
Yeah, it's a great 5 points there. One that I would want to add that is, I talked about it before in some of our LinkedIn lives that we've done that touch the EDI industry, because EDI also affects, and touches some of these points, is when you're taking a decision to take on a digital transformation for your company, all of those benefits stacked together just improve the quality of life of your employees. And we know how critical that is for a successful business. And so, you gave the example of, let's say frustrated employees because, something happened, they made a mistake, they have to go back and do it all over again. Like eventually the employee is asking themselves, am I at the right company where I need to do the same task over and over again to get to the same goal when I can just go here and work for, let's say, the competition, and they have Microsoft Teams, or they have the Microsoft CRM or Dynamics or whatever, and things are easier there. I can actually finish my work at 5-6 o'clock and then go join my family instead of repunching in orders that weren't inserted in the system. So some of this stuff might not be on the list of benefits from a quantitative point of view, but I can promise you that in the future and now, actually, it's becoming more and more important to invest in digital transformation for the quality of life of your employees. And the result of that is not just happier employees and more engagement from them and more loyalty from them, but it's ultimately happier customers, because happier employees engaging with customers make happier customers. So it's not all tangible stuff, but that's one thing that I would share.
It becomes tangible when your customers are happy. That's gonna actually impact your revenue, right? So that's
I'm a big believer in that adage that your most important target audience as a company is your staff. And if you take care of your staff, they will take care of your customers, and then it will become more tangible, right? You'll see that in ideally better revenue. You'll see that in better customer satisfaction scores, or NPS scores. You see that there's a lot of data that shows the increased engagement among staff and how that translates into positive business results, impacts the bottom line. And so I love that adage. I try and practice that adage with our own staff. But it leads to a really great question, Stilian. With everything we've talked about, clearly the employees play such a critical role in the digital transformation and evolving the company into the new realm. Can you talk to us a little bit about, in your experience or in your opinion, what is that role that your employees or the staff can take throughout? Because change management is really difficult, right? Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them again, right? There's so much involved in change management. So how important in your experience is that role for staff to take within that change process?
Definitely. And I would even add that it's the backbone of digital transformation, because you can't have top management decide, okay, now we're going to transform and we're going to make more profit and we're going to get rich and all that kind of stuff, right? So you actually have to work with your employees on that, right? So the best thing, and that's what we actually insist companies do, is to involve core team members of their team. Every single change that has to happen at the company, regardless of technology changes, or if you have new equipment that you're going to buy, or if you have a plant expansion, or if you decide to put in a new department, anything it actually has to be together with your employees. And I agree 100% with you, Teresa, on take care of your employees. They're going to take care of your customers. And so communication is going to be the core element, right? Build awareness around the change that's going to happen. And so involve them in different initiatives, right? A lot of times we actually tell clients what their core team should look like, right? What profiles we would need, what competencies, right? What seniority levels. And so because they're going to drive that technology or that new change moving forward in their company. And so you want to create this a positive experience for them, because if they're gonna, I'm kind of jumping back to French, but if they're gonna put sticks into your des bâtons dans tes roues, I don't know how you say that in English.
A cog in your wheel.
So exactly. So that's kind of like they're gonna slow you down, and you don't want that to happen, because you won't be able to succeed. That's as simple as that, right? So you have to. So how do you involve them, right? And so you have to understand that we have several different generations right now. You have still some of the baby boomers. You still have different generations that are there all at once, and you have to know that everyone is actually somewhere else in their understanding of technology. So you need to assess the maturity level of each employee in the end as well, right? So get a clear picture of, and if you have like 100 or 500 plus employees, you don't do it one by one, but you can at least group them, right? So you can group them. You say, okay, listen, here are some of the initiatives that we're gonna do to actually, ramp these guys up. Or here's some, the millennials, for example, they're already convinced and they're actually asking for that. So you're not gonna have an issue or resistance as much as some of the older generations who are used to work their way. However, it is a mistake to only bring on proponents on your core team when you do a digital transformation project. Because if you only bring on proponents, the project's gonna go well, but you may skip on a lot of crucial pitfalls, and you don't see them because the proponents, they tend to say, hey, we're optimistic about it, let's just push for it and stuff. So they may ignore some of the risks or some of the bottlenecks or dangers, right? Whereas somebody that's in between or even on the negative side may actually shed some light on that. So you need to have a well-versed and a core team that's basically across departments. So you have interdepartmental participants and different seniority levels, right? People who can actually take a decision, who know the business, and who know what's the benefit down the road as well. So it's really important to actually bring that, and that's where the partner selection is so important. It's not just to pick a partner who's going to do the project successfully for you, but it's also a partner who's actually able to help you ramp up your skills in terms of technology. So throughout the process, they're teaching you, your staff is going to get smarter because no matter what, there's a job displacement that is going to happen in the coming future, in the near term. And even prior to the pandemic, I've seen reports where 70 million jobs in North America will be displaced due to technology, because 50% of all activities are easy to automate. And each year, it's exponential, right? So it's not linear in terms of how technology and data accumulation and all that impacts business, but it's exponential. And you want to make sure that your staff is part of the lucky group that can benefit from, external insight and just like a project where they can learn and get some of these skills. And that's how your product is going to be successful in the long term. Because on the contrary, if you just leave it to the management team and you never involve the staff, or just to the president for smaller companies, it's going to fail. Even if the project, you're going to come out on time, on budget, but project success is not measured by on time, on budget. Project success is measured by how long it's going to sustain, how much it's going to help you in the long run, and how it's going to benefit you then, the impact that it has on your business.
I think, Stilian, the two things that you said there are so very critical. One is communication, right? So change management 101 is you have to, engage employees early, engage them often, tell them many times over. I think there's a data point. People have to hear things at least 3 or 4 times before it even starts to absorb, right? So a lot of communication, a lot of clarity for employees on what's happening, why it's happening, what it means for them, how it might impact them. I think communication is very critical. And you also mentioned the importance of that diversity of thinking on the project team, right? So just having proponents of the plan is risky for all the reasons you outlined. You also need to have some detractors, people who might be a little bit cynical about it. And I think that diversity of thinking, whether it's psychographically, like they're either for it or against it, or it's skill set wise, what's a multidisciplinary representation at the project table, or it's an experience level, whether you're very senior or the grassroots employees. And I think what I've seen is so many companies make that mistake is they really only bring in senior people, and then you get a confirmation bias, right? You end up going in the direction that the senior people who are making the decision wanted to go in. And often it's those frontline workers who maybe aren't as senior that have knowledge that some of these senior managers might not have, right? And it's so critical to have every level of the business represented at the project level to cover all your bases. I mean, literally cover all your bases. So as you said, you don't end up with, a stick in your wheel and causing you to go off track.
Couldn't agree more.
No, what a great conversation, guys. Stilian, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been truly amazing. I think there's definitely some companies out there across Canada that could benefit from speaking with you and the folks at Gestisoft. But I want to give you the opportunity to speak to the audience and let them know how they could learn more about you, about Gestisoft, how can they get in touch with you?
Definitely. So we're very open in terms of conversations. So reach out on LinkedIn. I think we're going to post this video, so you can always contact me and engage in conversations. Gestisoft is a Montreal-based company, so we serve Canada as a whole. So thanks to some of the technologies that are available right now at scale, like Microsoft Teams, etc., we've been actually able to do projects 100% remotely. So we don't actually have to come on site. So it's actually possible to do projects like that. And so just to let companies know, for your audience and the people who will be listening, we really come in once you have to transform, and you want to actually look at some of the solutions that are out there that are Microsoft based, right? So we wouldn't be able to help you at the selection process, but once hey, I know I need a CRM system, I know I need an ERP solution, we're actually able to help you out right then and there with different offerings. No company is too small, no company is too complex. So especially in manufacturing distribution, some of the challenges that companies live are lived over and over again at different companies, right? At their competitors, or even in different industries, like a distributor A in one industry may live the same thing as distributor B in another industry, right? So we're actually able to give that a perspective and help companies to just keep a clear vision and make a good decision before moving forward.
Great. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day, Stilian, and would love to have you back on the podcast when you're ready. And we hope you have an amazing week.
I had a blast.
Yeah, thanks. I always learn something on these podcasts, so thank you for sharing your industry knowledge. Appreciate
Fantastic.
it. Taking the time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.
You are listening to the New Level podcast, where humans talk about automation. We bring you industry experts and share new ideas that help elevate your business. Join your hosts, Philip Agib and Teresa Foreman, on the journey of automation technology.